Hello and welcome to Grognard Solo Gaming. I am the Grognard and today we are continuing with Curse of Strahd. But first I would like to say a big thank you to Karsten from the Solo Spelunking channel for giving my channel a shout out and for always being so supportive. Also Greek SoloRPG gets a big thank you for all the great comments and all the support. And finally also a welcome to everyone who has subscribed and a thank you to everyone who has commented. It really is the comments that have kept this series going. And with that said, let's return to the village of Barovia to find out what happens when the group goes to interrogate the Vistani owners of the local tavern. The party and their Barovian allies all walk north towards the Blood on the Vine tavern. As they do, Friedrich speaks quietly to Janosch and the paladins before instructing the witch hunter and Seraphine to bring out their nets. The cleric wants Seraphine, Irina and Gottfried to stand guard outside the front door, and for Janosch and Gottlieb to do the same by the back door. Then Ismark is to take the lead, speaking to the Vistani women backed up by his new sheriff and Friedrich as a representative of the church. Gottlieb lends his longsword and shield to Parpol, then he and Janosch hurry ahead and move around the village square in order to not be seen from inside the tavern. The cleric leads the rest of the group along the same path and then gestures for Gottfried and the women to remain by the door, while he enters with the two Barovian men. Inside, the Vistani women are sitting by their usual table, and also as usual they pay the newcomers no mind. But when Ismark walks up to their table, flanked by his new sheriff and the cleric, the women fall silent and look at the new burgomaster with ill-hidden annoyance. "Yes, what do you want, Lesser Ismark?" "I am here to introduce myself as the new burgomaster." "No one wants you for a burgomaster, Lesser Ismark. We like that you pay for our wine, but today you have had too much. Go away." The Vistani woman waves her hand dismissively at the fighter. Ismark's face reddens. "I inherited the title from my father, Burgomaster Kolyan Indirovich. That is the law and such is the tradition. You don't get a say in the matter." Yes, fine. Be the burgomaster all you want, but this is our tavern, and you're no longer welcome here. Take your stupid underlings and leave right now." The woman spits on the floor, nearly hitting Ismark's foot. Even Parpol, who is a man of little subtlety, can see the anger spreading on the Vistani women's faces. But unlike Friedrich, the giant Barovian fails to see how the women shift in their chairs as they prepare to move. Ismark looks at the woman who spat on the floor. "The tavern is yours, but you are still under village law, and as burgomaster I will open an investigation into how you acquired this property." "We bought it from the previous owner, Mr. Dragovich, Radu, remember? He wanted out, we let him out. We got the tavern for coppers on the gold coin. Everyone knows this." Friedrich takes a step forward. "Excellent, then you won't mind repeating that story after I cast a spell on you that prevents you from speaking anything but the truth." Though the women are very subtle and quick as they silently signal each other to attack, Friedrich still notices what they are up to and readies his shield. Ismark doesn't realize what is about to happen ahead of time, but as the women draw their hidden short swords, Ismark's training allows him to draw his weapon and stab with it with surprising speed. His attack pierces the woman that has been doing the talking in the shoulder, just a fraction of a second before she slashes the fighter across the abdomen. Seeing the new burgomaster get viciously cut, Parpol lets out a roar and completely savages the woman holding the bloody short sword. Landing 2 strikes with his longsword, the sheriff cracks the woman's skull, and there is no doubt she is dead as she starts falling towards the floor. Janosch, who has already picked the lock on the back door, hears the commotion inside and quickly enters the tavern, leaving the slower Gottlieb temporarily behind. The witch hunter finds himself in a dusty kitchen. Moving quickly towards the guest area, he picks up a meat cleaver that sits lodged in a wooden cutting board. He knows the door to the south is located behind the counter in the next room, and that is where the barkeep works. Without slowing down, Janosch enters the guest area and comes face to face with the pudgy barkeep, who looks at him with wide eyes. Friedrich is holding his shield up towards the Vistani women as the fight breaks out, but has placed himself so he can see Janosch enter the room. And at that point, he calls on Sathramelin to bless his allies, focusing on the witch hunter to give him an extra boost of speed. And without missing a beat, Janosch drives his short sword into the barkeep's throat. His eyes remain wide open as he falls toward the floor, but the witch hunter ignores him and simply drops the meat cleaver where the man is going to land, and prepares to leap over the counter. Meanwhile, the Vistani women who are still alive have decided to flee after seeing what Parple did to their friend. Surprisingly agile and well-trained for tavern owners that only gossip all day, the two have dived under their table, and dodging attacks from both Ismark and Parple, the woman who had been sitting closest to the front door yanks it open. With her friend right behind her, she rushes outside only to be met by Gottfried's glaive and the smiting power of Sathramelin. The paladin lands a perfect strike, severing the woman's head completely as she runs straight into his attack. Having just been sprayed in the face with her friend's blood and realizing she's trapped between the fully armored, glaive-wielding paladin and the three men inside the tavern, the final Vistani woman throws her short sword on the floor.
Fine. You win. Kill me or throw me in jail. It doesn't matter. I will not betray my sisters or our master. And you can save your spells, priest. We killed Radu Dragovich like a dirty animal. He's buried in the old Svalish wood somewhere. But don't ask me where, because I cannot remember.
Blood spews out of the woman's mouth, and she locks eyes with Parple, who has run his longsword straight through her chest. It takes her a few seconds to die, and when she finally goes limp, the giant Barovian pulls the sword out, letting her fall to the floor.
I told you, they would die if they had harmed old Radu.
Ismark nods. The punishment for their crimes was death anyway. I guess you can be both sheriff and executioner if you like. Parple wipes his sword on the dead woman's dress.
For murderous scum, I am executioner for free.
Seraphine steps over the beheaded woman and into the tavern. Well, so much for the interrogation, but I guess we found out what we had to. The sorceress looks at Janosch, then his bloody short sword, and finally the area behind the counter where the barkeep used to stand. Him too? He wasn't even Vistani. Janosch shrugs.
He pulled out a meat cleaver.
Seraphine crosses the room and leans over the counter. The pudgy, bald man is lying in a pool of his own blood. It's instantly apparent that there is nothing to do for him, short of magic strong enough to raise the dead. The sorceress points to the meat cleaver lying next to the man on the floor and speaks in the Aasimar language. A ghostly hand that looks like it's made of golden dust appears and picks up the weapon. Blood drips from the meat cleaver as the magical hand lifts it up so Seraphine can inspect it.
Did you find something?
Janosch suddenly appears behind the sorceress. No, it's just a regular meat cleaver, I guess. An improvised weapon.
Yes, I don't think this man was much of a warrior, unlike the women, who apparently had a surprising amount of training according to Ismark.
I guess we'll never know if he was simply too loyal to his employers or actually loyal to Strahd.
It doesn't matter. He should have known better than to draw a weapon.
Seraphine sighs. Yeah, I know I was the one who said we're in the right place and all, but I'm beginning to wish it wasn't our mission to deal with this godforsaken land. It's so
depressing.
The sorceress nods. It feels like Strahd is somehow present everywhere, ruining everything, all the time.
I know what you mean. Come on, let's go outside. We need to find someone to clean this mess up.
Seraphine ends her spell, making the meat cleaver fall to the counter, and then she follows Janosch outside. After dragging the beheaded woman inside the tavern, Gottlieb throws her head inside as well. Ismark, who is the last to leave because he searched the women for keys, picks up a small wooden sign from a windowsill just by the entrance, and once he is outside, he closes the door and hangs the sign with the closed side showing. There. As long as we don't leave them for too long, we should be fine. The fighter locks the door. In Barovia, even cowards are willing to risk their lives for wine. He holds the key out to Friedrich. The cleric shakes his head. Keep it, Mr. Kolyanovich. It'll be your job to find a new owner. Someone hardworking and trustworthy, of course. Ismark pockets the key. Of course, father. Friedrich turns to address the whole group. It's time. We're starting from the northwest. And remember that speed and efficiency are essential. The goal is to be in Vallaki by the time von Sarovich realizes what has happened. Everyone nods, and then the cleric sends the paladins to fetch Donovich and Parple to get a book, writing utensils, white paint, and a large brush from the store. Once everyone reconvenes outside the house where they are going to begin, Friedrich declares that the street they are standing on will be named Glaive Street, and that all the streets will be named after weapons used in the church's army. He doesn't mention that he first considered using the names of saints, but decided against it as he finds the filthy village completely undeserving of such an honor. In the first house, Ismark, Parpol, Donovich, and Friedrich are met by a withdrawn man who turns out to be the husband of a fearful wife and the father of 4 malnourished children. The cleric notices that nothing changes the man's attitude, not the news of the new church or a new burgomaster, not the offer of healing nor the curing of disease. The same goes for the news that the church is going to get rid of the undead. Not even the offer of warm food for the stick-thin children is met with any kind of enthusiasm or gratitude beyond a tired "thank you." Having written down everyone's name, age, and profession, Friedrich prompts Donovich to bid everyone in the family welcome to visit the church. Then the 4 men leave and go straight to the next house, while Janosch paints a white 1 on the door. When there has been no answer, even after Ismark has knocked a 3rd time, everyone draws their weapons and gets ready to enter. The new burgomaster and Parpol go first, followed by the paladins, and finally the witch hunter and the cleric in the back. Irina and Seraphine are left outside to watch over the elderly Donovich and to look for anything that tries to escape the house. For the task, Gottlieb has lent the Barovian woman the light crossbow from Durst Manor. The second house on the street turns out to be deserted by both humans and zombies alike, but instead to have been taken over by swarms of strangely large rats that are extremely aggressive. Upon sensing intruders, the vermin immediately rush out from every little crack in the worn-down building. At first, everyone is surprised by the attacking rats and unsure how to fight a swarm of so many small creatures. But the surprise and hesitation are short-lived, as Parpol's instincts quickly take over, and he simply starts chopping rats with his longsword. Everyone follows the new sheriff's lead and starts slashing and cleaving rats with sweeping attacks. Once all the rats are dead, Friedrich orders a quick search of the house, but nothing of interest is found. Even from the street outside, it's obvious the 3rd house is occupied by zombies, and again everyone gets ready for combat. This time there is no surprise and no wondering what to do. Everyone knows exactly how to hack up a zombie, especially Parpol. The new sheriff instantly turns into a whirlwind of steel and destruction, leaving the zombies looking as if they had walked face first into one of the bladed traps in Durst Manor. Friedrich estimates it took the group some 15 seconds to kill the 5 undead present in the house, meaning they can also search the house for villagers and be done in less than 5 minutes, meaning they can probably be done with the whole village in less than 3 days. Outside, the cleric calls for the paladins and walks over to the women. "Seraphine, please take Gottlieb and Gottfried, and Irina if she wants to go along, and use your gravedigger cantrip somewhere northeast of the village. We are going to need several deep holes for all the rats, as well as graves for the zombies. I will get the villagers involved in the transportation, okay?" "Of course, I will see to it, Father." Seraphine turns to Irina, and the Barovian woman nods. "I will join you, my friend. Let's go." "Gottlieb, you are responsible for Irina's safety, and Gottfried, you are responsible for Seraphine's."
"Of course, Father,"
the paladins say in unison. As the women and the paladins leave, Janosch joins Friedrich. "Don't we need the brothers to kill zombies and rats?" "Yes, but we are not fighting in the next house." The cleric points to a window where the witch hunter can see a child looking out from behind a curtain. The family in the 4th house is very different from the one in the 1st house. The man who opens the door looks Ismark in the eye as he introduces himself as the new burgomaster, and as he explains the new religion and the killing of all the rats and zombies in the village, the man nods and smiles. When Ismark finishes, the man shakes his hand and introduces himself as Ivan Dragosani. Please, come inside. We have little to offer, but you are most welcome. It's about time someone did something around here." Ivan explains that he is a hunter and that his wife, Vasha, is an herbalist, and that thanks to their respective skills, they are managing to gather enough food for themselves and their 4 children. Friedrich writes the information down, then he asks, "Are you all healthy? No illness or injuries?" Ivan is silent for a second before answering. "The youngest, Mikhail. He has a bad cough. He has been bedridden for 2 weeks now." Vasha, who is standing next to her husband, adds, "Because of the weather, medicinal herbs are not available like they once were." Friedrich nods. "Yes, I can see how that would be the case. But please, allow me to see Mikhail." The Dragosanis lead the cleric to a room on the second floor. The room is clean, but worn down. It has a bed, a nightstand, and a chair. In the bed there is a gaunt boy, maybe 6 years old, hugging a strange doll that looks like a furiously angry werewolf. The boy is sleeping and his breathing is shallow and accompanied by an unhealthy wheezing sound. Friedrich touches Mikhail's forehead and concludes that he has a fever. Then he holds his wrist and checks the boy's pulse with his fingertips. The pulse is weak and the cleric estimates that the boy has less than a week to live. He turns to the parents. It is most fortunate that we did not come here any later, as whatever specific disease ails your son is unfortunately killing him. Vasha starts to cry and Ivan hugs her, saying, "But you say fortunate. You mean you can help him?" Yes, so there's no need for tears, Mrs. Dragosani. Your son will be all right, thanks to the benevolence of our Lord and Savior, Almighty Sathramelin." Ivan struggles to speak. You would do that for us? We can't really repay you in any way." "You're actually wrong about that, Mr. Dragosani, but you don't have to repay us in any way. Sathramelin is a god of the light, and though his kindness is reserved for his followers, I am here to fight the monsters, not to act as them. So, in no way, shape or form is saving your son's life a bargaining chip." The cleric smiles briefly and turns to the sleeping boy. Then he invokes his deity aloud, while making the mystical hand gestures for Rego to take control and Corporem to target the boy's physical body. Faint golden flames erupt around Friedrich's hands and then around Mikhail, making his mother gasp. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, the faint flames disappear, and the boy opens his eyes and takes a deep breath. There is a moment of silence where his parents are standing completely still, waiting to see if he will start coughing. But there is no cough, and his breathing sounds normal. Friedrich steps back and gestures for Vasha to go to her son. The Barovian woman rushes up to Mikhail and hugs him. Friedrich turns to Ivan. "Come, Mr. Dragosani, let's speak in the other room." Mikhail's father, who is fighting back tears, simply nods and goes with the cleric and his 3 allies. Once Ivan can speak again, he says, "Thank you. I will throw out our figurine of the Morning Lord and replace it with a symbol of Sathramelin as soon as I can." He wipes his nose. "And we will go to church every week, the whole family." Friedrich gives Ivan a strong handshake and says, "Welcome to the Church of Sathramelin, Mr. Dragosani. Now, would you like to help clean up your village?" Ivan smiles. "Tell me what you need. We need help transporting dead rats and destroyed zombies to graves we are preparing east of the village. Please tell your friends. We'll pay the adults 1 silver per dead body they throw in a grave, and the children will be paid a copper piece per basket or sack full of dead rats that they empty in another place." Mr. Dragosani opens his mouth to speak, but is interrupted by the sound of his children running by and laughing in the corridor outside. Seeing that Mikhail is one of them, the Barovian man is again overcome with emotion, and Friedrich gives him a moment to collect himself so he can speak. "You are much too generous, father. That is too much coin for such work, and we would do it for free, and still we would owe you." "You're a good man, Ivan, but that's the deal, so please tell some people you trust. There are also 3 bodies in the tavern, but those you can throw with the rats." Ivan looks at Friedrich and nods. "Finally, Mr. Dragosani, you are of course welcome to place names and sun crosses on the graves, if you are able to identify what I suppose were once your neighbors." The Barovian hunter nods again. "Thank you, and yes, I believe we will be able to identify some of them." "Excellent. Then, in the future, there is nothing preventing you from turning the area into a proper graveyard." Friedrich motions for his allies to go outside, and Ismark hands the key to the tavern to Ivan before he follows the cleric. Once all 4 men are back outside in the street, the cleric declares that they are going to visit inhabited houses while they wait for the paladins to return. Then he takes Janosch aside and shows him the book where he is writing down the census. The cleric points to an ellipsis in front of the names of the people in the first house, and then to a circle in front of the names of the people in the 4th house. The witch hunter nods and says, "Yes, I heard them. Interesting." Then something catches Friedrich's eye, and he looks up from the book and in between the houses. Janosch notices and follows the cleric's gaze, just in time to see a man wearing a red coat and carrying a sword on his back. "That's no villager." "Indeed. Let's find out who he is and what he's doing here." The 2 men hurry to catch up with the stranger, who seems to be trying to get away but without running, perhaps to avoid drawing attention. Friedrich takes hold of his medallion of Sathramelin and uses divine magic to command the man. "You there, halt!" The man is only briefly paralyzed by the spell, but it's enough for Janosch to move up and draw the longsword from the scabbard on the man's back. The weapon is extraordinarily well balanced, and the witch hunter guesses it is enchanted. Just a second later, the man turns around and looks at the soldiers of Sathramelin with a serious face. Janosch lowers the man's sword. "You can have it back. We just want to ask you a few questions first." "If you want to ask questions, ask questions. Don't use magic to steal my sword." "Who are you?" "We're officials of the Church of Sathramelin. We uphold the law in this village. Who are you and what is your business here?" "I am Vornik Bale, Royal Ranger of Aragnon III, King of Syrinvir." Neither of the men from Agremeni have ever heard of Aragnon or Syrinvir. Janosch shrugs. "What are you doing here?" "Give me my sword and I'll tell you." The witch hunter looks to Friedrich, who nods. "From the accent and the clothing, it's fairly obvious Mr. Bale is not from around here." The witch hunter hands the longsword back to its owner, who sheaths it and says, "I am pursuing a felon. Unfortunately, I lost my horse to some very aggressive wolves before I could reach the village." Vornek points to the east. Friedrich nods. "We heard those wolves and saw one of their victims, but we were lucky enough not to be attacked. Who is this felon?" "An evil man, a devil worshipper. We don't know his real name, but among his peers he uses the nickname Djävulen." "Never heard of him. What does he look like?" "He disguises himself with magic, but he is older, with grey hair and glasses, and he's quite clever, because he uses 2 fake identities, one layered on the other. So if anyone gets suspicious, he reveals himself to be a vampire hunter, recently under the name Rudolf van Richten." "Interesting. What about his nickname? Does that mean something in your language?" "Yes, it means the devil in our language, Syrinvirini. So he collects evil things under the guise of being a vampire hunter, and that he is going to destroy the things, but then he actually uses them himself. You know, scrolls and grimoires, and spell components made from people, nasty stuff. I have even heard he can make unholy longevity potions using vampire blood." "Really? That would be new to me. Do you believe that is true?" "I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. I believe he is way too old to not have extended his life somehow." "Interesting. Is there a bounty on his head?" "Yes, 500 gold coins if he is alive, 1,000 if he's dead. But you have to bring him or his head to Rishir. That is the capital of Syrinvir." "I don't think we'll find ourselves in that area anytime soon, but if we find this Djävulen, or Rudolf, or whatever he decides to call himself, we'll kill him for free." "Well, you would be doing the world a favor for sure, and I'm just doing my job. I can't collect the bounty anyway." "Well, are we done? I really have to continue west." "Yes, one final thing though. We have learned that this land is ruled by a vampire, and that the really thick fog that surrounds it is deadly, so be careful." Perhaps that is why Djävulen traveled here. Thank you for the information, and if we're all trapped here together, perhaps I will see you again." Vornek salutes the soldiers of Sathramelin and disappears between the houses to the west. Janosch turns to Friedrich. "I have never heard of Syrinvir, nor have I ever heard that peculiar accent of his." The cleric chuckles. "Me neither. It definitely seems like this place is connected to all kinds of places in the world." "Or worlds." "You might be right, but we have enough work conquering this hellhole, and then, once we get back to Agremeni, there's..." What are you thinking?" Friedrich stifles a smile. "You just gave me an idea, but I will save it for later. Let's go back. We need to get as far as we can before sundown." Janosch nods, and the 2 men head back to the newly named Glaive Street. The witch hunter looks up towards Castle Ravenloft and says, "This might be a stretch, but von Sarovich is known as the Devil Strahd, and this devil worshipper calls himself Djävulen." "Which means the same thing. You're suggesting Javelin and Strahd are the same person." "It would certainly explain his unnaturally long life and potentially also why he's seeking out vampires." That would mean von Sarovich can leave this place. Interesting. We'll give it some thought and discuss it later. For now, we have a lot of houses to visit." Friedrich whistles and signals for Ismark, Parpol and Donovich to join him as he approaches the next house. And from there the day and the work progresses. After 2 hours, when the women and the paladins return, the group once again starts entering houses where there might be zombies or rats. Friedrich gets the feeling Seraphine has something to say after returning, but she never does so, and the cleric is too busy to ask her about it. Eventually, as the threat level of the enemies has been firmly established, even Irina is called upon to help clear the houses, and by the time the sun begins to set, Irina, Seraphine, Gottfried and Janosch are sent back to Ismark's house, while the rest of the group visits a few more families. By the time Donovich has been left off by the church and everyone else has gathered in the salon in Ismark's house, everyone is exhausted and ready for sleep. Friedrich clears his throat to get everyone's attention. Well done, everyone. We visited 37 houses today, despite the fact that we had to split up so Seraphine could prepare the graves. The cleric turns to the sorceress and thanks her before continuing. Also, we destroyed 31 zombies, and our new burgomaster did a great job. But the title of Zombie Slayer of the Day goes to our new sheriff. Great job, Mr. Cantemir. Everyone agrees with the cleric, and Parpol beams with pride as everyone praises his skill and power as a warrior. Friedrich continues. We also must have killed 1,000 rats. At least, Ismark says, flexing and massaging his right arm. The others laugh as they have all slashed and chopped rats until their arms hurt. The cleric nods. I'm glad it makes you laugh, because we probably have to kill even more tomorrow, and after that there won't be much left to do, and we will need to move on. But for now, we need to rest. We'll have 2 guards just like last night. Seraphine brings out her Liber Sanctus. I'll be reading and meditating, so that should make it easier. Yes, we'll each do an hour, starting with Irina. Everyone says goodnight and heads for their respective rooms, while Seraphine asks Ismark to stay behind for a few minutes. She briefly explains her conversation with Irina about Mary and Gertruda, and then asks the fighter what his sister meant. The Barovian chuckles. She's much too nice, my sister. Gertruda is known for 2 things in this village. Her beauty and her stupidity. Well, to be fair, it might be naivete from the sheltered life her mother forced upon her. Seraphine nods. Meaning she might be dumb enough to go to Castle Ravenloft to find Count Strahd von Sarvich? Really though? Is she that stupid? Ismark thinks for a second. The honest answer is yes. Unfortunately, she might be that dumb. But the more sinister answer is, well, in all honesty, this is hearsay. But I have heard that people from the castle visited Mary's house. And by people you mean vampires? Ismark shrugs. Seraphine furrows her brow. Or do you mean Strahd himself? No, not Strahd, someone else. But again, it's just what I've heard. So he might not be the only real vampire living up there? Ismark shrugs again. I am sorry. I don't know. These are just tales, rumors, and speculations among the villagers. All right. What about Madame Eva? Is that a name you recognize? Yes, I actually do. She is a Vistani fortune teller. Her family members frequently pass through the village on their way to and from, well, whatever lies beyond the mist. Do you know anything about Mary's connection to Madame Eva? No, but Mary has always claimed to be psychic, so I'm not surprised if she has sought out Vistani fortune tellers. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Okay, thank you, Ismark. I won't keep you anymore. Good night. Good night. The fighter starts to leave but stops in the doorway. Only half turning, he speaks over his shoulder. Thank you, Seraphine, for spending time with my sister. Ever since the Devil Strahd started stalking her, she has just become more and more isolated. Oh, don't mention it. She's a lovely person, and it's my pleasure. Ismark nods and leaves the sorceress to study her Liber Sanctus. But even if that was her intention, Seraphine finds herself preoccupied with thoughts of Mary and Gertruda, even after the fighter has left. Perhaps she feels a kinship with the unknown girl because of her upbringing, or perhaps it's just an attempt to fight yet another thing that is wrong in Barovia. The Aasimar isn't sure, but even if she does find Gertruda, would bringing her home be the right thing to do? And where would a naive girl go in this miserable land? Is there any place she could have ended up that would not end poorly for her? If the rumors are true, then it's most likely Gertrude is dead, or a vampire spawn herself, in which case... Seraphine snaps out of her reverie and gets out of her chair, but then she hesitates for a few seconds before finally going to find Irina. Seraphine sticks her head into the kitchen. Irina, are you in here? Yes, what is it? Is there trouble? The Barovian woman looks up from pouring tea into a cup. No, sorry, there's no need for alarm. I was just wondering, how do you feel about joining the Church of Sathramelin? Irina shrugs. I don't know. My brother has suggested it and I have thought about it, but the sorceress nods. Okay, I see. I don't want to pressure you, but I think it would be a good idea. Irina pours a second cup of tea and offers it to Seraphine. Why? Is there some reason in particular? Something I should know about? The Asimai smells the tea and shakes her head. No, it's just a hunch, I guess, but yeah, do consider it, please, and thank you. This smells really good. Irina smiles. You're welcome, and I'll think about it, of course. The women take their tea and go sit down in the hallway as the others are getting ready to go to sleep. Seraphine casts her light spell on a lamp hanging from the middle of the ceiling, and Irina draws her sword that shines with a light that is equally bright. At first the sorceress is surprised, but then she realizes Friedrich must have learnt the light spell as well and cast it on her rapier. From his room, Janosch can hear the women change their talking into whispering. He figures he's in for a visit from Morgantha, and he has no idea how to avoid it. If only he was an Asimai with a holy book, then he would be able to stay awake indefinitely as well. But the witch hunter has seen men get tortured with sleeplessness, so he realizes it's useless to try and stay awake. So what can he do, and what can Morgantha do? She stabbed him with her short sword, and as far as he has been able to tell, nothing happened. But did he wake up because he got stabbed? Or did he wake up and that's how he avoided ill effects from the attack? He doesn't really know. The witch hunter begins pacing the room as he ponders the situation. So what does he know? That Morgantha is dead, that much is certain. Also that she is able to enter his dreams. Dead but dreaming, she called it, though technically ghosts do not sleep, nor do they dream. Meaning the night hag is either using some kind of mind magic, or she is actually moving her ghostly form into the very subtle realms of dream. But either way, she has to be an actual ghost. A shiver suddenly passes down the witch hunter's spine, interrupting his thinking. He draws his silvered short sword and looks around in the gloomy room. I am not confined to your dreams, you know. Morgantha's voice is a distant whisper. Show yourself, witch. Where are you? Closer and closer every night. But do not worry. Tonight I have better things to do. Why would I trust anything you say? Because I have plans for you, Janosch Herz. Just wait and see. Hey, are you alright? We thought we heard you talking. Seraphine and Irina are standing in the doorway. Yes, I'm fine. Sorry. I'm going to bed now. Good night. Okay, good night. The two women return to their post and Janosch goes to bed, wondering if Morgantha can be trusted. The witch hunter isn't sure if it means anything for her trustworthiness, but at least the hag doesn't show up during the night. The next morning, Friedrich has everyone getting started early. We have places to be, people to see, and vermin to kill. Let's go. Everyone gets their armors, weapons, and other equipment in order, and then they set out for another day of going door to door in the village. And that is where we will leave the story for now, and I thank you very much for watching or listening, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.